Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Playing the games released 42 years ago today, November 1982.
Ah, military ID. First Sergeant Walter Keller, born 1944. That makes you 38. Must have fought in Vietnam.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, we're going to tear this place apart with video games. Last game we were playing was on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, and it was Inheritance. Very, very unique. Let's see what our next release is. Coming up next is the Atari VCS, or Atari 2600 if you're fancy. This is International Soccer. Oh, sports games. I'm just clamoring for more sports games. Here's the box for International Soccer. It is by M Network, which means it's by Mattel, which means we've already seen this one. Well, sort of, on the Intellivision. And here it is. They're just peddling their wares to the Atari because everyone has an Atari right now. If you don't have one, you need to get one. The box looks all the other like all the other M Network boxes, and it is International Soccer. Not just soccer in one country, it's all over the world. It's for 2 players and 2 skill levels, amateur and pro, and that's it. There's no other game variations. Why? Why did they not put more game variations? It has 2 simulated 45-minute halves, 4-man teams, but you don't get to play with 4 different people at the same time. This was originally on the Intellivision in September 1980, and it was called NASL Soccer, N-A-S-L, North American Soccer League Soccer. Everything was licensed on the Intellivision to really show up the Atari. Here's the other artwork we have for International Soccer. We have the original scan and then the cleaned up, the grungy look, and the fresh new look. Whatever your flavor. Besides the box, there's the ad you would have seen in catalogs or magazines at the time, along with Armor Ambush. There's another one that they brought over to the Atari VCS. International Soccer, realistic field action, exciting sound effects. More fun for the whole family, except mom. Unless if you are a mom that played International Soccer on the Atari VCS, please leave a comment down below. Oh yeah, here's the cartridge that we see for all the M Network games. Looks a little funky, looks a little weird. I kind of like it. They're pretty cool for the Mattel cartridges on your Atari VCS. But most of the third-party publishers have put something new in the cartridge because it's all whatever anybody wants to do right now. There's no boundaries in November 1982. Here's the manual for International Soccer. This is the 168th game that we played on the Atari 2600. And it's Mattel's 63rd game total that we played on the show. And that's across all systems. They've done 41 games on the Intellivision, and they have done 9 games. This is the 9th on the Atari VCS under the M Network moniker or label, mom. Oh, that's right, Marshall. You definitely would be a soccer mom. I don't know. If you play video game soccer, I don't know if you're a soccer mom. That's a kind of different mom. So this is for 2 players only, and as you can see, there is no guest tonight. I'm here by myself. I'm a lonely nerd playing Atari VCS, so I'm just going to have to plug in 2 joysticks to give you the semi-experience of what it's like to play the game. The object is to score more goals than your opponent. Wait, yeah, we know. It's soccer. I hope that's the goal. This isn't soccer from the future. It's just International Soccer. It has 2 different teams, the yellow and blue team. The kickoff begins at each half of the game. And if I remember correctly, the soccer we played, NASL Soccer on the Intellivision, was very good. It was a very good soccer game. And it was one of the first games that wasn't a Pong paddle, you know, moving back and forth. It was characters running across the field. So I'm looking for something really impressive. On the Atari right now, we have Pele Soccer, and we got the non-Pele version, but it's the exact same game as soccer. But that was just 3 blips. Now we can see what they can do on the Atari. So this is just breaking down everything. You can see over on the left side example of the screenshot, how to control your character. It is the Atari VCS joystick, all different directions, move them around. I don't know what's happening here above my head. That's what you look like whenever you're stopped. And then if you scroll down here, it gives lots of playing details, how to steal the ball, how to pass. The screen is going to scroll, which is awesome. It did the same thing with games like ice hockey and the other one, Pele Soccer too. How are they going to scroll it though? Let's see. Yes, right? Oh yeah, Psychosis Media, it was one of the best sports games. Well, Intellivision had lots of really good sports games. They were the cream of the crop still. All right, so you see we have winning tips over on the left side. They're still giving us tips and tricks here at Atari on how to play the game. Play in defense. Oh, I love it. And then we got the 90-day limited warranty. There you go, the manual. Pause the manual if you want to get the best tips and tricks on how to play. This was available in PAL regions by Telegames. We're going to play the first one in North America. Here's International Soccer, done by Kevin Miller, published by Mattel Electronics in the beginning of November 1982. Yes, this is Kevin Miller's 4th game that we've seen him do here on the show, and it's the first one he's ever done on the Atari. All right. Maybe they should have called this, if it's international soccer, wouldn't it be international football because the rest of the world says football? I don't think anyone, how many other countries refer to it as soccer? Because international soccer just has a terrible ring to it. All right, so we're going to go through the different game modes. This is very, very limited. All you can do is the difficulty switch for 2 different, whether characters are going fast or slow, but then it's just 1 or 2 players. There is no other variation. So I'm going to go with a 1-player game, and you can see what happens. I am controlling the yellow team right now. I have 1 main guy that I can move around. The time is ticking down already. The second team has players moving, but you have to have a second person. If you want to play a 1-player game, you're essentially doing what I'm doing. No one's going to be trying to go for a goal. So you see right here, I can just move my way freely to the other side. But look at that, scrolling on the Atari. Wow. But this is very different than the one on the Intellivision. If you're really familiar with Nazzle Soccer, I just pushed the button on the Atari VCS, and that didn't work so well. There you go. Get him out there and get a goal going. Yeah, you have to have 2 people, though. How is my teammate is running on the other side of their goal? So yellow team's got 1 score. Go, go, go. Since it's 2 players only, it reminds me of the time when we were in the 70s, playing all those video games that you had to have 2 people. There was no such thing as a computer-controlled character. You had to have a friend. And now you can be all alone. Well, for most of the games in November 1982, but not here. You have to have 2 people to play. So I just have 2 Atari VCS joysticks plugged in, and I'm playing as both controllers. It allows you to pass the ball, but the passing is you have to aim the joystick where you want to go. For example, I have to aim, and that aim missed. The ball's just going to bounce off the side until it hits something. But when it comes in contact with someone else, then you can take over as the player like that. But this is very, very well done. The other really good sports game that I can think of off the top of my head on the Atari was Ice Hockey, the one done by Activision. It's a very simple idea, 2-player, but it works great. All right, yes, combat. I bet you were suffering, Obsidian. We're nearing the holiday season of 1982, and there are some very big games coming out for the Atari VCS soon, including one that's coming up that we're going to be seeing at the end of this week. We're going to have a showcase of Indiana Jones on the Atari VCS and E.T., but then after that, we're actually going to get the creator of Indiana Jones and E.T. to be here live on the show to play those games with me when they're released. I think I passed it in the wrong side. I love how the ball just keeps going. Once you pass it, if it doesn't come into contact with any player, it will just keep bouncing forever. See, right here, I can just, boom, yellow player steal. Yeah, I'm really excited to have Howard Scott Warshaw on to talk about just, in general, the game development of Indiana Jones and E.T. while we're playing the game. It's going to be so fun. So this is kind of interesting that it's the 2-player only, and there's also not a lot of game options on this one. I really want more game options on my Atari games. Back whenever we had 2 players only, think of games that had sports titles that you weren't able, you had to have someone else to play with. This marks the 22nd soccer game that we played, or European football, here on the show. And on consoles, the Magnavox Odyssey has a soccer game, if you want to call it that, but it's kind of like, Pong. After that, we had, on the Epoch Cassette Vision, the Big Sports 12 had the console version of soccer, and that was, again, kind of like Pong-ish. The Philips Video Pack had a soccer game. Magnavox Odyssey 2 has a soccer game. Enterton VC 4000 has a soccer game. And then here on the Atari, there's the Championship Soccer or Pele Soccer if it's licensed by him. Oh, yes, go, go, go. Get him in there. You really need two people to enjoy this one, of course, but at this point, for all those other games I mentioned, that's everything we've seen so far. That's a console soccer game. So if you're hard-pressed right now in November 1982 to play the best soccer, I would still say Intellivision's Nazzle Soccer is a little bit better, but that's pretty much it for home console soccer games. The rest of the ones we played have either been home computer versions, so there's not a whole lot of this can be rated against. Home console soccer games, there's not too many out there, unless you want to go really far back, and the games are called soccer, but they're all Pong. I mean, like the Pong standalones, which we didn't do here on the show. We didn't go through every single Pong game. Yeah, right. It does feel kind of like air hockey. That's a good point. We've played one game on the Commodore 64 that was an actual air hockey game. It was meant to be like air hockey, but that kind of feels like this. But it does it to its favor, the way that the ball just flies. There it is. Wait for it to come all the way back. And works really well. The scrolling is nice. Much better of an upgrade that we saw with Championship Soccer and Pele Soccer here on the Atari 2600. But honestly, that's all I'll give for a quick taste of international soccer. Your first experience, if you're by yourself, it's not going to be very fun. It'll be like me juggling between the two joysticks. You need two people to enjoy it. So it is a multiplayer game only, and I would rate it as if we had someone else here. Of all the games you could play right now across all home consoles, though, what would you give international soccer? It is a very well-done game, very well-programmed for the Atari. I'm looking over the chat. James has already thrown out a 3-star for all the games you could play. If you're basing it on soccer games, I gave you everything else that's possible on a home console. So it doesn't really have a ton of competition, and it does it very well. If you think of it, it's like a notch below Intellivision soccer. Yeah, that's true. There is no out of bounds. Yeah, it can't go out, you're right. Yeah, 3.5. I'm seeing for a couple people as well. Yeah, it's a fun time if you have two people. Not a lot of game variations, though. So I would have said 3.5 stars, but I'm actually going to say 3 stars, pretty average for the time. The 2 players only, and then not really any options that you can go with. You got to have those game variations. That's possibly why we had the video game crash. There we go. Psychosis is with me on that one, too. All right, after that release, let's see what our next game is. There we go. A handheld. It's about time. This is Invader 2000 that you can put in the palm of your hand. I'm going to give you some footage of the actual system itself if you were to play it, and then we'll boot it up. It'll zoom in quite a bit. Fire Away was a series of handheld electronic games marketed by Tandy around the beginning of the 80s. There were about 6 different products in this line of handhelds. All of them were licensed by Handy. They were original Tandy games, but they started off in Japan. So in North America, you may be familiar with these as lots of different names. They look to capitalize on the Space Invaders theme. One of the first one was released in 1980 that we played called Galaxy Invader 1000. And this one's on that same line of handhelds. They were released in Japan as Invader 1000, and we didn't see the Japanese release. We just played the Tandy release. It was also sold in the United States by Radio Shack as Cosmic 1000 Fire Away. And Galaxy Invader 1000 is another version of this. We're actually going to play the first one. This is the Japanese release of Galaxy Invader 2000. So this one, I just have a few boxes for, but you can kind of get the feel of how this works. It has a really knobby joystick that just moves left and right because it's meant to do Space Invaders. So you just need to move left and right and then one giant fire button. This one looks really similar. The case is really similar to the Galaxy Invader 1000 that we played. But whether it's Invader 1000 in Japan or Galaxy Invader 1000, it's the same thing. Yeah, right? Tandy is pretty handy. There it is. There's the system we're looking at with an example of the game in progress. And there it is in Japan, or the Japanese box, Invader 2000. You got to call it Invader if it's going to be based on Space Invaders. So here you go. This is Invader 2000 in the palm of our hands by Gakken and in Japan. Later by Tandy in the beginning of November 1982. All right, so this is the handheld, obviously emulated, but you can see all I got to do is move left, right, and fire, time my shots, and I actually have a couple bases now at the bottom to protect myself. But very simple, very quaint. There's not a lot of movement, too. I only have what feels like tile-based movement. Like whenever I'm, because I can only move, how many spaces is this? It's only 5 total spaces. Oh, and they already blew me up that fast. And you also got to go by how well this is trying to emulate the vacuum fluorescent display. It's not going to be as accurate as possible. That's why I provided a little video footage so you can see. The shot doesn't go to the end of the screen either. I can only fire when they start to come in. So it's like they're taking the Space Invaders idea with the enemies at the top, but it has the way they're flying down reminds me more of Galaxian. When you blow up, you die like that. It is a shoot 'em up, fixed shooter. Of all the games you could be playing right now across handhelds, there's a lot more games that are handhelds that are shooters. So this was weird in November 1982 to play a handheld that's just so generic. It's so simple. It's a fixed shooter. It's the 11th fixed shooter that we played on a handheld, and this is the 4th game we've seen by Gakken. It's very, very simplistic. The vacuum fluorescent display, that glowy display, might get you a little bit feels, maybe a little nostalgia, but it doesn't really have as much play value as the other handhelds we've seen up to this point. If you want to play a really good handheld right now, my money is still on Donkey Kong, the Game & Watch Donkey Kong, or Tron, which has several screens and even one that scrolls. So you can see this is I guess the lower end of the handhelds of everything you could play up to this point. So I'm thinking around of all the handhelds at this time, it's around the average range, but because we played better handhelds, I'm thinking 2.5. Looking over in the chat, I see a 2-star and 2.5. Yeah, the presentation's nice though. Yeah, you got to admit the way I guess how it feels in the palm of your hand, right? Oh yes, yeah, good point. All right, so I'll say 2.5 stars for Invader 2000 in the palm of your hand. All right, after that, let's see what our next release is. We're going to the United Kingdom to play on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This is Invaders, just Invaders. And we have heard this one before, at least the title Invaders. This one is Invaders by Arctic Computing. Look at that box, though. That is slick. Very, very simple. I wonder if they just realize we've played a ton of Space Invaders style games, and they just, you know what you're going to buy. You don't need to put anything else in the front of the box. There you go, Arctic. That works. This marks the 126th game we played on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. And yeah, that's it. It's just a cassette case. Fairly simple for everything up to this point. That's actually a later box, if I remember correctly. There you go. I believe this is the first box that you would have seen. This is the 18th game that we've seen by Arctic Computing, or at least published by Arctic. And that's across all systems and all ports they've ever done. There you go. We have the general loading instructions. You need to know how to load the game. It's going to be cassette after you pop it out. Yeah, movie poster mail. Yeah, very, very nicely done. Yeah, the other front of the box is what I'm used to seeing by Arctic. So on the inside sleeve, it explains how to play. The planet Earth once more is being invaded by alien forces. Haven't heard that one before. You have to fight to the death to protect your threatened planet. There are 9 difficulty levels with you to select by pressing left or right and fire. There are 4 game options. You got ordinary invaders, you got bombs from various angles, you have mutant invaders, and then you have a combination of bombs and mutant invaders. So you can choose difficulty level, and it's got variations. That's really cool for a home, for the ZX Spectrum, actually, I should say. We've seen speed and difficulty settings, but to have a variations is where it's at. That brings me back to 1977 when the Atari was released. Oh, and yeah, right. I hope that's the owner's notes. Load, and then yeah, you can tell they had trouble loading the game. They had to write it down there. And then there's our controls on the keyboard. It is keyboard controlled only with some points. There's the cassette tape we're going to pop into play. Invaders, just Invaders. Oh yes, and we're getting so close, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 99th Space Invaders variant, and I mean straight Space Invaders variant, because obviously there's been so many games based on Galaxian and then Phoenix. I mean, they're all based on Space Invaders, but just in Space Invaders itself, this is the 99th one. It's released in other regions like the Netherlands by Acosoft, and then ZX Data in Germany. So we're playing the very first United Kingdom Invaders by Arctic Computing, developed by William J. Ray, the beginning of November 1982. All we need is 16K for this. Nice. You're under attack from enemy alien forces, armed with 3 laser bases. You repel an invasion. So there's our controls. Okay, I think I got it. Ready? Oh, we have a high score table too? Oh man, this is polished. Very polished ZX Spectrum game. Now, William J. Ray, this is the 3rd game we've seen him do after ZX Galaxians and Galaxians. So he's already program games we've seen on the ZX Spectrum, and he's fairly familiar with Galaxians, apparently. All right, let's do this. Ooh, yeah. That's right, Marshall. You probably only owned one at home. All right, so here we go. Oh, nice. Here it is, easy and hard modes. Okay, let's go right down the middle with 5. I'm just using the fire button to begin, or the fire key to begin. All right, so input the game variation. Let's start with just normal Space Invaders, and then we want 1 player. If you do 2 players, it's arcade hot seat style. Look at this. Whoa, the fire works like auto fire. You can just hold down the key, and it keeps going. I'm destroying my base, but I want to take out everything on the left side. Can you take out that? Just missed it. Okay, we'll go to the right side now. So very, very colorful. The color pops here on the ZX Spectrum. I was going to say, the title Invaders is not unique to the show. Here on Chronologically Gaming, we've already played plenty of games that have Invaders in the title, but then a Space Invaders game for home computers, there is so many. If this is the 99th game, I believe this is already the 4th or 5th that we played on the ZX Spectrum. Just Space Invaders style games. Notice though, I can't move so fast. Watch this. I don't even think I can be able to hit my shot for the... Yeah, I couldn't even get my shot up for the UFO because of my speed. All right, let's see if we can get this in here. It's still only 1 shot at a time. This is like 1-to-1 what Space Invaders would be like on the ZX Spectrum. We've already played a few different versions. It has animated aliens going across the screen. And this very well could have been the very first Space Invaders game you ever played on the ZX Spectrum back then. It's a real testament, Obsidian Arcade, that we played so many Space Invaders games, but I still enjoy playing it. That's why the game was so good. When it was first released in 1978, it's amazing that I wouldn't be bored with it by now. Oh, I just missed the UFO. The sound effects are very well done too. Yeah, it's already playing exactly how I would expect a Space Invaders game to play. And at this point, we've already played some very, very good ones and some really terrible ones. Like ASCII only, you name it, we've played it up to this point. All right, we're down to the wire here. Can we get the last shot in? Oh my gosh, he's coming in. He's coming in hot. Oh man! Hey, notice they also save. They're saving the. Oh, we had the game over. My position. They're not starting the whole thing over. That's really nice. Yeah, don't mess with it. Look at this. We got the high score table too, and you put it in like in the arcade. Really, really polished for a ZX Spectrum game. Can we do more? Oh, we can. Sweet. And you can delete. So you don't have to put in just your initials. If I don't slip. Remember, I'm using the very spongy ZX Spectrum keyboard. And so it's nice and easy there. And then we can enter that one. Enter. Yes, we made the high score. Love it. Yeah, right, Paul? If it's only for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, this is great. All right, let's make it harder, maybe faster. And let's go with game variation 4. It'll mix 2 and 3. Let's just go nuts with it. Ready? Here we go. Whoa, now we got curved bullets. Look at this. And the speed. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a cool formula. I don't think we saw curved bullets on the Atari VCS version of Space Invaders. It's still the same idea. It's aliens moving left to right. You move left to right. They slowly come down. There was another one we played that was very popular called Avenger. And back whenever I first saw Avenger, I wasn't as impressed because I claimed Space Invaders is old up to this point. But that was like 1981. And now I'm here in 1982 still having fun with playing games like Space Invaders. So because of the variations, though, I actually would give this one a higher rating. Yeah, I'm thinking 3 stars of all the games you could play. I'm seeing 3.5 plus already for some people. It is only keyboard controlled only. I guess later you could use the cursor joystick, but at this point you would be playing only on the keyboard. And we played plenty of Space Invaders games across all other systems that let you use the joystick. So Invaders is very impressive for the ZX Spectrum. Easily 4 stars I saw from the chat, but for everything else you could play across all home computers right now, it is a very lofty goal. It's very well done, but I would still say most of the time when I see a Space Invaders game at this point, I say about 2.5 stars, but this one I'm going to say 3 because it has those variations to it. Yeah, oh, there we go. Manly's going 3.5. Nice. Oh, yeah, even higher on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. 4 easily. That's great. Because remember, this was released in April, and it was mail order. This computer you ordered in April, and you wouldn't even gotten it until now. All right, after that, let's see what our next game is. From one micro to another, this is the Sinclair ZX81, and this is Invaders. That's right, which means, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 100th Space Invaders variant that we played on the show. It's by JMS, the beginning of November 1982. This marks the 82nd game we played on this tiny, tiny micro that might be confused for a calculator. I have no idea who JMS is. Who programmed this game and what is JMS? Please tell me in the comments down below. As usual, the shooter has to shoot all the aliens. They will also shoot the player. The player can use deflector shield to deflect shots and protect themselves. And you can't move and shoot using the shield, and it's only there for a few seconds. You choose between different speeds, 1 to 100, 100 being really fast, and I don't think I'll do that in this. It's so fast. The game gets faster every time you progress in the level as well. So because this is the 100th Space Invader, we'll do something a little special. That's a lot of Space Invader games. You can see the controls here. I'm going to have to put all joysticks, and I'm going to be keyboard controlled only, going 1 to move left, E to move right, P for the deflector shield, and L for the laser fire. That is very bizarre. Yeah, you can see they're explaining a little bit how it works. And then you put in your speed. I'm going to just start with 20. Well, actually, you know what? Let's start fast. Let's do it really fast, and then we'll probably die fast and come right here again. All right, so I'm going to go 90 speed. You ready? 1, E, P, and L. Ready? Go. There we go. Okay, so we're moving left and right. I'm down at the bottom of the screen. I am the I symbol, and I have my... I died really fast. How many lives do we have? And no lives. Once you die, that's it. But you notice I had multiple hits before I went down. All right, let's go again with speed 80. There we go. Nice. Take it away. I'm firing what looks like plus symbols, and I'm just... Am I destroying math symbols? Multiplication and division? We played educational games before, and they were Space Invaders style, but this is not supposed to be educational. All right, let's slow it down even more. Let's go 50. All right, there's my deflector. When my deflector's on, I cannot shoot or move. So it's like I can use the deflector for a little bit of time. But look how quaint this is. It's ASCII, and you get multiple hits before you die. Yeah, the top aliens, I would say, are my favorites out of this one. All right, let's slow it down even more. Go 40. I'm shooting them with the plus, the plus sign. So it's not the most impressive Invaders game of all the Space Invaders variants you could play up to this point, but since it's our 100th, let me tell you our journey of the games we played that have Space Invaders in the title. Before 1978, before Space Invaders, I have no record of any video game that had the word Invaders in the title. Space Invaders, because of how popular it was, we have played 100 variants of Space Invaders, but games that were called Invaders, like the name Invaders in the title, there were so many out there. After Space Invaders, before that there was nothing named Invaders, but then after that we had Invaders from Hyperspace, we had Alien Invaders, we had Martian Invaders, we had Color Invaders, we had TI Invaders, we had Deluxe Invaders, we had Invaders on the ZX81 by AG Software, we had Invaders on the ZX81 by Bug Byte Software. We played all of these Invader games with Invaders in the title. And we played Edition Invaders, which had math. It was a true educational game. I don't know if I can hit that UFO at the top. We also played Invaders on the VIC-20 by Melbourne House. We played Vic Invaders. We played Terminal Invaders. We played Earth Invaders. We played Invaders Revenge. We played Spectral Invaders. English Invaders. I don't know how we can play anything not as English as this, but we played Ace Invaders, Tooth Invaders, Word Invaders, Invaders on the BBC Micro by IJK. We played Invaders on the BBC Micro by MP Software. We played Invaders on the BBC Micro by Superior Software. Does everyone get the breadth of how amazing and popular Space Invaders was? That we played that many games that are called Invaders in the title? And with all that, of all the games we played up to this point, and all the games you could be playing across all home computers, this version of Invaders is not so good. We played plenty of other games you could be playing across all home computers, but this one, it is keyboard controlled only. I do have a soft spot for the ZX81 playing things with an ASCII. Oh, I got the UFO. I can't believe I did that. We might see that one too, because we haven't finished 1982 yet. There's other games we're going to be playing before we close out the year. This one has the deflector shield, which is kind of nice. So of all the games you can be playing right now across all home computers, this Invaders is lackluster. I would say still, it has a quaint idea. You got the deflector shield, you can move left, right, and fire, but you would have fun on your ZX81, but you have to remember, it is a membrane keyboard, which means, it's the kind you can spill coffee on and nothing really happens to it, because it's more like a calculator. So just imagine having to use Twitch controls for that. I look over in the chat, I already got a 1-star, 1.5, 2.5. Yeah, it's pretty much all over the board. It depends on how much you would love this. If you only had the Sinclair ZX81, makes a good point too. I'll say 2 stars though. Of all the games you could play right now across all home computers, it's a 2-star game. It's a bad game, but it's the best of the bad. All right. And that's where we got to put our video game playing on pause, or break the entire game. If you hit the wrong key on some of these keyboards, the whole game just crashes. We are very excited to bring you the release of some of your most famous and most infamous Atari 2600 games coming up by the end of this week. But next time on Chronologically Gaming, we are going on an adventure in ancient Jerusalem. Some more adults-only garbage on your Atari that you may not throw in the trash, and the very last time we will have crazy fun on the Atari home computer. That's it for today, and like I always say, think positive. If there's another video game crash, I'm positive I will catch up to modern games. Join Chronologically Gaming and special guest Howard Scott Warshaw for the release of Raiders of the Lost Ark and E.T. for the Atari 2600. For the first time, the creator of these games will be here live in November 1982 to play the games, rate the games, and we may even answer some questions from the chat. We'll see you there. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.